Hi, I just wanted to make a quick addendum to this video. So, during the production of this video, which was essentially throughout the month of July, I hope to have it out by the time of the actual anniversary of Dashcon, but unfortunately for me, life was getting very much in the way of things. So that really didn't happen until the premiere date that you're seeing this video now. During this, it came to my attention that Strange Aeons actually put out a video, which is a comprehensive history of Dashcon. And I want to say, first off, thank you to Strange for doing this. Honestly, we needed to have this done a long time ago. And also that they interviewed about 50 attendees. I was not one of them, but I do hope that my own personal story of being a artist alley vendor at Dashcon can serve as like an addendum. As of right now, I have not watched the video, so I'll look at it later, but so far I've heard good things. Now, once again, to clarify, this is based off of my own personal memory, my own personal experiences, and I've once again had this in production for a good long time because I really wanted to just write this down for my own sake. Kind of like I think what Strange is doing is just to have this documented so the myth of Dashcon is no longer a myth. But yeah, so thanks for watching, and once again, thanks to Strange for finally taking the time to do the work to make this real. Thanks. So, y'all ready to go to the con? So it seems as if the universe has been giving me signals over the last few years to tell my story about what happened at Dashcon. Videos keep popping up in my feed, posts keep being made, and every so often when talking about recent con disasters, Dashcon will be brought up as a benchmark, back in my day move, a standard for disorganized if you will. Now, the behind the scenes of the infamous con have been done to death at this point, with think pieces, analysis, and retellings done by mostly third-party sources. I've yet to see anyone actually admit to going there, even though over the years, even the person who came up with the concept has spoken out. No one wants to seem to say, I saw this whole thing happen firsthand. It seems like a dirty secret that you tell your friends one night, maybe when you got drunk or you were stoned off your ass. While the con was actively happening, there were a lot of rumors and fake first-person accounts of what was going on there, and for years afterwards, those ended up becoming fact for many people looking into how this mess actually happened. In fact, there's still misinformation out there to this day. Yet, thanks to some organizers speaking out and more official documents surrounding money coming out, the story has finally become a bit more refined. Like I said, these are mostly retold by other people. I have yet to personally find someone's first-hand account of what it was like to be there as an attendee. However, if you do know somebody, please send them my way. I really want to hear it. But I thought that maybe I would give you my story, as mine may be a bit more unique. You see, as the title says, my first artist alley was Dashcon. So not only was I an attendee, I was also a vendor. While I was at the con sitting at my booth, I was updating the Artist Alley Facebook group I was a part of at the time to what was going down. I made a long essay-like post that detailed my experiences at Dashcon and what little bits of information that I could gather as the weekend was going on. Unfortunately, due to either poor post keeping, an update on Facebook, or whatever, this post has since been lost to time. So I figured that with this month monumenting the 10-year anniversary of Dashcon, I would finally sit down and, if anything, record my story for my own posterity. Because little did I know that I was going to be part of internet history. So sit back, get a drink. I got one as I recount my story of how my first artist alley was Dashcon. So years ago, when the idea of a Tumblr convention was still a concept, I was actually one of the people who donated to the initial crowdfunding campaign, which I believe was on Indiegogo. I was a college student who just returned from a trip abroad, so I donated whatever the minimum was that the donation reward for a set of business cards was, which of course I never received. But I donated because it seemed like people were taking this seriously, and if I could help them with that, then so be it. I had donated to Kickstarters in the past, back when it was a fairly new concept, so I thought, you know what, I haven't been burned yet. Unfortunately, all the early emails are on a compromised Yahoo email account because in the early 2010s, Yahoo kept on getting hacked and my email was just fodder to these people. So I moved to Gmail. Thankfully, I kept all the emails in relation to Dashcon since the switch, as I also notified them of the email change. But yeah, I can't tell you what tier it was I subbed to, but I do remember being asked about business cards that never came to be. The first red flag I should have seen coming was the location itself. The Renaissance in Schaumburg is not a new location to me. I've been there before, mostly for sorority business. But I know that hotel, and that is a very, very expensive hotel. To get good deals, you have to guarantee large blocks of room sales as well as large attendance numbers. Not being on the inside, I assume they must have gotten those larger numbers and figured this hotel was far enough from the Chicago dividing line so that they wouldn't get hit with those outrageous taxes. But pushing that aside, I have to say that communication was good. I was constantly getting email updates about con guests, panels, and events. Eventually, the notice about Artist Alley and applications came out, and I decided I wanted to apply because why not? I figured that it would be a small con, local to me, and a nice way to do something with the inventory that I had trying to run a very unsuccessful online shop. The initial figure, I believe, for a booth was about $150, which, if you can believe it or not, is actually very, very cheap for a booth, which actually might have contributed to the money problem. So I figured that even if I didn't make a huge profit, I could try to at least break even on the cost of a table. So I applied, and I got in. Hi everybody, Research Kyla here. So as I was going through my documents and my photos, I realized that I still had the Artist Alley agreement contract that I signed to. And I thought that maybe we would just get a chance to go through it together. Now, I don't know who made this contract. I'm assuming it was one of the adult parties involved. One of the adult contributors to Dashcon. So yeah, but let's just go see what I signed. Let's look at it again with fresh eyes 10 years later, right? I am now an adult. Although I was an adult then, I'm a more lived adult per se. You know, I'm a bit smarter, I believe. So let's see. This agreement is between blank, here an exhibitor, and Dashcon LP. By signing this document, exhibitors agree to the convention rules and policies and to the terms and conditions listed below. Okay. 1. Exhibitors are responsible for appearing, picking up their badges, and setting up their space on time at Dashcon. Exhibitors will load in and load out all of their own property and will not hold Dashcon liable for any lost or stolen items. Exhibitor will forfeit their badge if they fail to sign and return this form within 2 weeks of purchasing their space. If the exhibitor fails to return this form, their space will be considered forfeit and may be resold by Dashcon. Okay, that's pretty standard. That's pretty standard, you know, because you are getting, in this case, and you'll see it down here too, I got 2 badges, one for me and one for a helper. And you know, a lot of places, a lot of conventions are like, hey, you got to be protecting your own property. We are not liable for stolen merchandise, you know. So 2, exhibitors shall be fully responsible to pay for any and all damages to property owned by Marriott Renaissance Schaumburg Convention Center Hotel or Dashcon or their owners or managers, which results from any act or omission of exhibitor. Exhibitor agrees to defend, indemnify, and hold harmless Marriott Renaissance Schaumburg Convention Center Hotel, Dashcon, and their respective owners, managers, officers, or directors, agents, employees, subsidiaries, and affiliates from any damages or charges resulting from exhibitors' use of the property. So essentially, like, hey, you break it, you buy it. This is pretty standard too. So the exhibitor understands that by signing this contract, they are satisfied with the space provided, understanding that space and amenities provided are subject to change. The exhibitor agrees to 2 badges, 1 6x30 table, 1 20 amp outlet per table, and 2 chairs, which I like. For me, since I haven't been to too many artist alleys, in fact, not really that many, this is like, I thought this was all right for like the first go around. It seemed to me like the pretty basic setup. 2 badges, 1 table, 2 chairs, 1 for you and your partner, and also an outlet for you to hook up whatever you need. Like, makes sense to me. 4, all undetermined values will be determined no later than July 1st, 2014, so please keep checking back. We will email all exhibitors once those values are determined, and it is in each exhibitor's duty to know all values before coming to the convention center. Now with this, I think they're talking about pretty much the convention's AV stuff, because so hotels, especially if you're having like a convention there or something, they'll have you sign like they'll give you like an AV sheet of stuff that you might need for it. And AV is audio visual equipment. So like if you need like speakers, if you need like a podium, if you need like all these different outlets or the internet connection, and just how like it's a price sheet to tell you how much this stuff will cost, and maybe the per day cost if you're going to be there for a longer time. So I think that that's what they meant. They were still trying to figure out what that was. And the hotel hadn't given it to them yet. So I think that that's what they're talking about, I think. 5, exhibitor agrees to monitor all explicit or 18 plus art. Exhibitor will keep all explicit art in a separate box, binder, folder, clearly labeled. Exhibitors will ID attendees before allowing them access to all explicit material. This is standard as well, and once again goes against the whole like they weren't IDing people. Okay, they were not playing around with that, I will say. I think they understood the consequence of that action, and hopefully every other con does. But 6, exhibitors are not allowed to tear down early and must be present for all open hours. Well, that certainly did not happen. Now, what I find interesting here is, so badge pickup hours, Thursday from that time, we're in the Perfection boardroom. That was not a boardroom that I walked into, okay? That was a whole ass concrete floor, all right? Like, I don't know what they were talking about. Friday, they say undetermined. I'm not quite sure why, but I'm assuming at this point the hotel didn't give them a room. Like maybe they were going to be using that room for something else. Dealer's room and artist alley hours. So setup. Now, this is what I was talking about, where it makes it seem like in one YouTuber's video, like the images that she used made it look like we were like set up in just the concrete floor room where the sign up was. No, we were in an actual ballroom. It was fairly spacious. We had a nice room between us, I would think, nice little area. It was easy to walk through, a lot of space to walk through actually. So they're saying that the load-in happens on the south dock, and you can kind of see how big this hotel is that I was telling you guys about. Like, this is the convention center, this is the dock, this is like the convention center area, and like the hotel and everything over here, right? But this whole area that's the hotel. Like, this is a true convention space, okay? 7, the dealer's room noise is to be kept to a minimum so as to not to interfere with other exhibitors and to allow attendees to ask questions and hear answers. No merchandise hawking, yelling, cupped hands, bullhorns will be permitted. TVs, music, boom boxes, and other noise generating devices can be audible but must not interfere with neighboring exhibitors and may not broadcast anything profane or otherwise unsuitable for all ages. Now, given how small that room is, like most exhibitor halls like you see it like maybe C2E2 or even at San Diego Comic-Con, which is happening right now, the space is large. It's large, so you're trying to capture people's attention and draw them in with something, so maybe like having the radio playing, but our space was so tiny that it would really have interfered with what was going on. And I kind of remember somebody had a radio playing. It wasn't bad stuff, but I remember a radio playing in there, like at some point. 8. Exhibitors may have booths in the dealer's room or tables in Artist Alley, but may not sell merchandise in both locations. Exhibitors with booths in the dealer's room may not allow others to resell the exhibitor's good in Artist Alley. 9. Exhibitor acknowledges that neither Dashcon nor the indemnified parties maintain insurance covering exhibitor's property, and it is the sole responsibility of exhibitors to obtain sufficient insurance. 10. Dashcon will do its best to protect and secure the dealer's room and Artist Alley contracted security will be provided. However, exhibitors must also do their best to protect and secure their cash, space, equipment, and merchandise. The Renaissance Schaumburg will accept partials 3 days in advance. There are additional fees associated with storage of your items. So this is pretty much like a run-of-the-mill document, but I will say, just going back looking at this, you're not allowed to tear down early and you must be there for all present open hours. It's just really funny now looking back on it, given how people just straight up dipped. And there were a lot of people, now that I think about it, who I don't think even showed up. Looking back at some of the photos from that weekend, a lot of people, I think, realized what it might be, or they were waiting to come in on Friday, and all of a sudden, with the mess that happened that day, they decided, you know what, nope, I'm just gonna take the loss. Now what I find interesting, although I guess it's interesting in this agreement, is that they did not put the price of the table in here, which, I mean, I had already submitted my payment to get this, to see if I would get in, but I just find it funny that they didn't include the price of the table in here. I don't know if that's not standard I don't know if that would be standard to include the price of the table in the contract. I would think it would be, but kind of interesting. But yeah, here you go. I don't know if anybody has ever really seen this before, so I hope I brought a piece of internet history to you all. In the lead up to the con, as I got inventory ready, signage and whatnot, I was getting constant email updates from the staff. They would be in contact with the Artist Alley folks, sending updates, the hotel AV order form, and more. The list of Artist Alley and vendors who were going to be there was actually quite impressive, filled with a lot of big names from Tumblr, along with a few people I knew personally. So I was excited, and also hopeful, if you will, for if anything, I would be hanging out and meeting some artists that I admired, and also meeting some friends who I haven't seen in a good long time. And if anything, I was determined at the time to really get my name out there, and even contributed to the digital booklet art. Yes, if you by chance have the digital booklet, or even a physical booklet from Dashcon, and you see this page, my design is on that page. That's me. That's me. Ain't that wild? Anyway, as time went on, I realized I would most likely need a booth helper. Given I had an extra ticket for just that reason provided to me by the con, I recruited my college roommate, who I'll call Sunny. But all in all, the lead up was just a lot of hopeful optimism. If not for a fantastic con, then just a nice weekend. So after getting a ride down to the hotel, Sunny and I dropped off our stuff in the hotel room, headed to Walmart to stock up on room snacks, as you do, and spent the better part of that day just relaxing before the badge pickup opened and before we could head down to the vendor room to actually set up. Given that I was working the Artist Alley, I got in a day early to set up along with every other vendor. Now, what I need to stress here is that this is a convention center. It is built to handle large crowds. While researching, I found out this hotel has also been the host of stuff like the North American Reptile Breeders Conference and the International Gem and Jewelry Show. It's a large space meant for large gatherings. So when we get to the area that has the badge pickup, it was a huge concrete floor space. Like, if you've been to C2E2 at McCormick Place downtown, you know the security area that you go to? Imagine that space, right? And midway in the room, toward the side of the wall, was a small table set up with 2 people working. And I remember, like, on the bottom of the, like, on the concrete in, like, yellow tape, welcome was, like, spelled out on it. I mean, it was weird to see, but I didn't think much of it because, well, we were here early by a whole damn day and the con didn't start yet. So I really wasn't expecting to see this place fully packed. And also, one thing I want to stress, because this is one of the rumors that ran wild at the time and still persists to this day, and that was that there was no 18 plus check and that minors got into 18 plus panels. It's bunk. It's complete bunk, or cap as the kids say. Wanna know why? I had my ID checked at the badge pickup. They had these wristbands. See? At the time, my wrist was real skinny. Now it's kind of fat. But I used to be able to wriggle like wristbands like this off, and I would have a hard time keeping track of them. So I just asked them, hey, can you loop it on my cord? And they said, sure. And so I just had it on the whole weekend, and as you can see, I still have it. So no, they just didn't let anybody in willy-nilly like that. Now, someone could have snuck in. I mean, it happens more often than you think, but no one just held open the door for some minor to go, here you go, buddy, and just had him walk into an 18 plus panel. That didn't happen. In fact, given the fact that most of those panels didn't happen, I would be shocked if somebody did get in and saw somebody in there talking about something. But anyway, we get our badge, we go to the hotel room and nap until setup time. Going into the area, I remember it being a very nice sized hotel conference room. While I did watch a couple of Dashcon videos to kind of refresh my own memory, there was one video in particular that kind of made it seem like the vendor artist alley space was in a large concrete room. No, it was a very normal hotel sized conference room. And also shout out to my friend who said that I could use images from her Dashcon photo album that she has to help illustrate my point on this. It was a small space and it wasn't that far from the panel rooms, and I got a nice spot. I wasn't too far from the entrance, and I was kind of toward the back along that front wall. I considered it a pretty decent spot. But not too much happened that day that I can really remember, but the setup went well and I was excited for the weekend. So that morning, Sunny and I woke up to get something to eat and headed to my booth. I was in my Welcome to Night Vale cosplay as Celia Palmer, because Welcome to Night Vale was the thing on Tumblr at the time, and it had everybody in the goddamn chokehold. But I was also dressed up because, and this I don't think has really been out there, but Welcome to Night Vale, the day before they were supposed to do their performance that they didn't do, they had a meet and greet. And you, I think, either had to pay extra at the time, it was very limited tickets, but then they also had a drawing. And I decided to submit, and well, I got picked. So they notified me that morning, and I made sure that I was in my cosplay ready to go, because I think it happened at either 5 or 6 p.m. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't really feeling well that morning. I felt nauseous and I thought I had a bug. Turns out it was anxiety. But besides that, I stayed at my table and Sunny went to panels. It was slow for me during the day, but I did sell some merch, and FYI, I did end up making back my table amount at least. But it was a small crowd for a small first-time convention. The room wasn't packed, but it did have a steady flow of folks. Most congregated at the more popular artist booths, which were placed right at the entrance and exit. Now, I I don't have con experience as a vendor like that, but as an attendee, I now see that this was a really big problem. The obvious one is safety. Having the artists who draw large crowds be at the entrance and exit means blocking the doors. And if there's an emergency, we gonna have a problem. The second issue being visibility for smaller artists. Sitting the popular kids near the front doesn't encourage people to go through the room to find them and maybe finding other artists on the way. It's meant to encourage folks to kind of look around a bit, you know? I can't remember their name, but my booth neighbor, who is an established artist alley artist, was very nice. We chatted a bit and they offered a lot of great advice. I even got to do my first commission order while I was there. But as the day went on, I ran into people who Sunny knew from Tumblr and got to meet them and their friends. All in all, the day went by uneventfully, and it wasn't until the evening that things started to kick off. So while famously Welcome to Night Vale didn't perform their live reading, they did do a meet and greet, which I did go to. I got a picture with Cecil Baldwin and even got to show him and Joseph Fink a little gif I did of Cecil Palmer from the show. He loved it and my cosplay, and I was fortunate enough to just be there and talk to them. Not a lot of people got to do that at the con. I was feeling good. I was feeling happy. And after that meet and greet, I went to a fandom tea party that was hosted by an artist that I won't really name because I don't know how she feels about being associated with Dashcon, but it's easy to find out who. I'm just choosing not to because I don't know. But it was fun. It was really fun. Honestly, right up until what I'm gonna be talking about next, the con was fine. It was going pretty smoothly, and my interactions with people were nice. My sales were okay. I figured as a first time nobody artist alley person, like I wasn't expecting much. Like I just thought so far, well, for our first time out, it's going pretty well. So Friday night, I was on my way to kill time until a few panels I wanted to attend started back up. One place I went to was the Tumblr prom. Not gonna lie, I mainly went to people watch. Even when I worked ASIN for a couple of years, I went down to the rave maybe to people watch. Very fascinating. I would recommend it, but not really. I had on this cute dress that I bought, which looking at the pattern from the pics is very 2012, 2013. But I went down to the prom, did my little two-step, you know, and all of a sudden the music cut. The lights turned on and con staff came out. We were notified then to bring as many people as we could into the room because there was an emergency announcement. In my original post, I called this the night of the ultimatum. At the time, like many people before me have said, we were told that it was because congoers were acting rude or doing outrageous things, and that the staff of the hotel was used to a more higher clientele and not freaky weirdos like us. So they wanted the rest of the balance, being $17,000, or else we would all get kicked out.
We currently have a donation button up on our website, and any little bit that helps. $10, $1, anything helps for us to stay here until the rest of the weekend. Unfortunately, this is something that has been completely out of our control. This is not something that we foresaw, and this is not something that we expected by any sort of means.
Beyond that, there is a post on our blog that went out about it. People are assuming that it was 4chan because we were a target of them.
Oh yeah.
Not 4chan. This would be the best hack ever to get us out here.
We were asked to send money to the con's PayPal account and to make posts to ask people to donate, and someone passed around a collection plate, i.e. somebody's hat. And I also want to clarify that the Hunger Games 3-finger thing wasn't used as like a salute, a mourning thing, you know. It was just used as kind of a shut up signal. Kind of like when a teacher wants the classroom to be quiet and does the, if you can hear the sound of my voice, clap once. Or sometimes they'll do a call and response. For some reason, the 3-fingered Hunger Games salute worked for a bunch of nerds. But anyway, I was in the back of the room with some artist friends of mine, and I walked around the place to do a little bit of ear hustling. If I found something out, I would go run back and report, because con staff was getting a little bit quiet while they were waiting on them donations. The main info I caught was that con guests were being locked out of their hotel rooms, which has been corroborated not only by con guests, but by con volunteers. We now know that it's because Dashcon's head admin decided that they would not be paying for those rooms anymore. And because those rooms were not paid for, the hotel essentially just locked them suckers and all the belongings of these people inside and pretty much held it for collateral. One of the artists who I was talking to was a con guest, and she booked it out of that room to get to the front desk, along with a bunch of other people when they found out. I eventually managed to work my way up to the front of the room near the stairs where the podium was to hear any details I could. I honestly don't know if there's any video from another angle, but you might be able to see me in one of them. But anyway, with no new news coming out, me and Sunny decided to book it to our room before some reason they decided to lock ours. Now, Sunny, during all of this, if I remember, was in a panel completely unaware of the shit show that was happening in the ballroom. It wasn't until posts started going around on Tumblr did she finally know what was happening, and she came to the ballroom. While we were in the room, we shared posts about donating, and I chipped in what little I could to help. And by some plucky miracle, the con raised the money. I know a lot of people to this day wonder why people donated to this, or did someone donate a massive lump sum? And well, look at it like this. So me and Sunny, we could have easily packed up and just got a ride back to our home since we live in the Chicagoland area. She lives out in the suburbs and I live on the south side. We could get home no problem. Some people drove for hours. Some people flew. One person I met came from a whole nother country just for this convention. If the con ended, these people would be stranded, especially if the hotel decided to do what they did with the con guests and just lock people out of their rooms. It was really out of a sense of preservation at this point that we have to at least see this thing through until Sunday for our own sake. But all in all, a lot of us as con-goers thought that we avoided a disaster. I know a lot of other guests were like, this is a scam and I'm gonna get out of here. And we're rightfully calling out staff about the mismanagement of money, which brings about another red flag, the using of PayPal for the con's main account. So the thing with banks is that typically if you need to do a transaction, especially back then, not only could you do it in person, but online as well. And it would maybe take about a few hours or a business day to get it done because it's a direct transaction from your account to whoever the bank is sending it to, and they can process it as soon as possible. Dashcon, from what I understand, it still seems to be true, put all of their money in a PayPal account. Because PayPal is a third-party service, and especially back then, it would take at least 5 to 7 business days for a transaction from a PayPal account to your bank to process. Now they can do it instantly before a fee. And I'm pretty sure that if you're transferring a large amount of money, like let's say $17,000, they're still going to take time to process that. And also to mention the fee that PayPal takes out every time that you do this transaction. Now, if this was a regular work week during normal business hours, this would probably be fine. However, all of this went down on Friday night. The processor for PayPal doesn't, or did, I don't know if they still don't, process transfers over the weekend. So even with all the money they raised, it wouldn't hit the bank account or be available to take until Monday. So from the fact that the organizers put all their money, all their eggs into this one basket, and the lock couldn't be opened until Monday morning, we should have known that there was no way that this could have worked out. But anyway, after an eventful Friday night, Sunny and I went to sleep to get ready for the following day. Today I wake up and in a new Welcome to Night Vale cosplay as Carla, the femme version of Kevin, radio host from the neighboring town of Desert Bluffs. Why, you may ask? Well, I had a ticket to the Welcome to Night Vale live reading, but that was at noon and I had to be at my booth. Now, given what happened last night, a lot of vendors and artists said, you know what? I'm good, actually. and decided to pack up and leave. By the end of the day, there were barely a handful of us left in that artist alley room. I remember Artia Wigs, I think that's how you pronounce them, a vendor at the con, packing up and just watching them take down wig after wig after wig and just box it up and head out. I talked to my booth neighbor for a bit about all that was going down, and they mentioned to me how their sales were way down in comparison to other cons that they were at before. Because while the crowd was small on Friday, after last night, on Saturday, it was barely non-existent. Mainly people who showed up today at the door were folks who were only here for Welcome to Night Vale, and that's it. Speaking of, after getting into the room for the performance while we waited, we, the crowd, kind of entertained ourselves. I remember someone who was dressed as the Glow Cloud, all hail the mighty Glow Cloud, who was walking around showing off their cosplay. There was someone who was dressed as an angel, of who I ended up befriending on Tumblr, and who says that they still have a picture of us together to this day. And I also took pictures with a lot of people. So if you remember me dressed like this, please share it with me. But I also remember kind of lying down on the chairs as there wasn't really anybody in my aisle. I was pretty close up front, shockingly enough, and I was like on the right side of the room and had a lot of space. But I also remember waiting a long time and getting irritated because Sunny was off at another panel, which means nobody was manning my booth, which means that I was losing money on possible sales. You know, like I'm sitting here waiting for an hour, ain't nothing happening. I could have been making money, you know? And that was when, after all this time, a con staffer went and walked up to the mic and told us that Night Vale walked. And well, the rest is history.
Okay, so basically, I know you guys have been waiting for an extremely long time. But unfortunately, what I have to tell you guys is that basically Night Vale just walked. Okay, if everyone would like to collectively groan and sigh together, that's what I've been doing, so we can take a second to do that. So on 3, we're all gonna sigh together, okay? So 1, 2. Give me
back my money!
So we all left mumbling and grumbling, tired and irritated, and I went back to the booth to wait for Sunny to tell her what went down. While I was waiting, I got this email. This infamous email that led to a link that led to a post to inform that those of us who didn't get the Night Vale performance, what we could get instead. It wasn't a refund, no, because remember, they need the money to keep the lights on. Rather, we got this. So yeah, I honestly think that was the last straw, because as soon as that happened, the place just cleared out. After Night Vale, the Baker Street Babes, a Sherlock Holmes-based podcast that were guests of the con, left. I remember so many artists, including my booth neighbor, packed up and left that day. I honestly consider this day to be the last day of the con. Doug Jones, bless his heart, stayed for the whole thing and even stayed for the Time Crash performance, of which I know the lead performer, so thank God you were still there to help bring some life to this mess. Hi, it's a brand new shoot day, and also while it's extremely hot outside, I'm gonna not have on my air conditioner because of just the noise filtering, but I will be fanning myself for a little bit every now and again because it's hot. It's like 90 degrees out. I'm burning up. But I just want to say that amongst all the nonsense that happened that weekend, that the group of friends I made at this con, we had a blast together. We went to the movies to see Maleficent when it came out. We went to Denny's, as you do, hung out in the hotel rooms, and more. In fact, the Saturday night that the con pretty much imploded in on itself, we sat in the hotel room of our newfound friends, and we just watched movies, snacked, had some drinks, and we scrolled through Tumblr laughing at the memes about us at the con. In fact, this famous photo, that's my friend. We took that in the hotel room. So yes, that famous meme was actually taken at Dashcon. You're welcome. So Sunday rolls around, and that was pretty much damage control day. So while I waited for my mom to come get me from the hotel, Sunny had already left at that point, I sat in the lobby and I typed up my experience for the Facebook Artist Alley group. I mentioned in there that on Friday I promised to give updates, but because of the shit show that ensued, I was like, maybe I need to wait a minute and just compile what happened over the weekend for a more thorough report. But you know, little did I know that this would end up going down in internet history as not just a pinnacle moment for the website Tumblr, but also just the new benchmark for bad conventions. And as we come to a close, I really just have to stress this. At the end of the day, Dashcon was really the people that made the experience. I made friends with people who I still call my friends to this day. And in fact, during the production of this script, 2 of them who both met at the convention got married. So I hate to say it, but the real Dashcon was indeed the friends we made along the way. And to the volunteers of that weekend, y'all did the best that you could with what you had. And believe me, baby, that was not a lot. I appreciate your time and effort in trying to organize the chaos that ensued. And to the youngest organizer of the team, I am so sorry that you had to deal with that and that those adults let you down at that time. But just know that thanks to you and that idea, I met some of the nicest, warmest, funniest, most talented group of beautiful people that I am so proud to call my friends, even 10 years after the fact. And I would not have met them if it wasn't for that convention. So I really want to say thank you. I am truly forever grateful. But anyway, this is KylaTea signing out, and I hope to see you all very soon in the next video. Bye.
If you should ever leave me, though life would still go on, believe me, the world could show nothing to me. So what good would living do me? God only knows what I'd be without you.